When people imagine the fall of Rome, they picture barbarians at the gates, poison in marble palaces, and legions collapsing in the mud. But empires don't only die from outside attacks, they rot from the inside, and one of the most corrosive weapons in that rot is money. Rome didn't just lose battles, Rome lost trust, because its currency collapsed, slowly at first, then all at once. You're watching Hidden Money History, where the past leaves receipts. Let's set the stage. For centuries, Rome's economic backbone was the silver denarius. It wasn't just a coin. It was confidence in metal form. Soldiers were paid in it. Merchants demanded it. Ordinary families saved in it. And here's the key. The empire's strength and the coin's credibility were linked. As long as people believed in Rome, they believed in Roman money. But an empire is expensive. Borders had to be defended. Armies had to be paid. Roads, ports, aqueducts, and grain shipments had to keep moving. By the 2nd century, Rome was stretched thin. Costs rose faster than taxes could keep up. And that's when the solution arrived. The oldest trick in state finance. Don't raise taxes. Change the money. Instead of openly taking more from citizens, Rome quietly reduced the silver inside the denarius. The coin still looked official. It still carried the emperor's face, but it held less real value. At first, people didn't notice. That's why debasement works. But eventually, reality shows up in your hands. Coins feel different. They tarnish differently. They ring differently. And the moment enough people notice, trust begins to fracture. Here's what happens next. Every single time in history. Prices start rising, not because goods vanish, but because money is no longer anchored. A measure of wheat that used to cost 1 coin starts costing several, then dozens. Workers demand higher pay. Soldiers demand higher pay. And the state, desperate to keep the machine running, mints even more weakened coins. Volume replaces value. It's a vicious cycle. Debase to prices rise to pay demands rise to debase again. Now the story accelerates in the 3rd century, during what historians call the crisis of the 3rd century. Invasions, civil wars, plagues, power struggles, emperors rise and fall at dizzying speed. And behind the political chaos is a broken financial system. Taxes are collected in coins that buy less each month. Farmers and merchants look at the money and think, why should I trade real goods for fake value? So trade starts to change. Merchants demand better money, or they demand payment in gold, or they return to barter. Local economies shrink into survival mode, and Rome's greatest advantage, a vast, connected imperial economy, begins to crack into smaller, distrustful pieces. This is what currency collapse really does. It doesn't just make prices higher. It breaks coordination. It breaks planning. It breaks long-distance trade. It breaks the state's ability to pay the people who hold the borders. And when the borders weaken, every external threat becomes deadlier. So Rome tries to force the world back into order. And that leads to one of the most dramatic mistakes in economic history. In 301, Emperor Diocletian attempts a desperate fix. He issues the edict on maximum prices, a massive list of price ceilings and wage limits, over 1,000 items, and yes, harsh punishments for violations. But here's the problem. You can't fix a broken coin with a strong law. If the money is collapsing, a price ceiling doesn't create stability. It creates a black market. People stop selling openly. Goods disappear from legal stalls. Trade moves into shadows, and fear replaces commerce. So the edict fails, not because people were greedy, but because the foundation was rotten. Eventually, Rome has to admit the truth. The denarius is no longer a trusted standard, and that's when a reset begins. In the early 4th century, a new gold coin rises into dominance, the solidus. Stable weight, high purity, a coin designed to rebuild confidence. In the East, this helps restore order for a time. But by then, the damage in the Western Empire is already deep, because currency collapse doesn't just hurt wallets, it hollows out the state. If soldiers can't be paid in trusted money, loyalty becomes expensive. If trade networks fracture, tax revenue collapses. If people stop trusting the currency, they stop trusting the government behind it. And once that happens, the empire becomes a shell, still standing, but weaker at every seam. So when people ask, did Rome fall because of barbarians? The sharper answer is, barbarians finished the job. But Rome's treasury made it possible. Now the modern lesson. Rome thought it could cheat reality, issue money that looked the same while quietly removing the value inside. That strategy always has one ending. The public pays the price, wealth is destroyed, and trust collapses. Because money's not just metal or paper, money is belief. And once belief breaks, society starts to unravel. Contracts weaken, trade slows, institutions lose legitimacy. So here's the real warning. Rome leaves us. You can manipulate money for a while. You can hide the cost for a while. But you can't hide it forever. And I want your answer in the comments. What do you think breaks first when money loses trust? Prices, trade, or political stability? If this gave you a new perspective, subscribe to Hidden Money History. Because history doesn't repeat, but it does leave patterns. And Rome left one of the clearest.